I thank you all for coming here to celebrate Earth Day with us. I have a quote from Walt Whitman, Leaves of Grass. "Now I see the secret of the making of the best persons. It is to grow in the open air and to eat and sleep with the earth." When I was a youngster, my family was all about the great outdoors. We went camping, hiking, whitewater rafting, snow skiing, and anything else that you can think of that was involved if you did it outside. All of our family vacations were a tent, a sleeping bag, and a Coleman stove. We saw all of the national parks on the western half of the U.S. We saw all of the Canadian and Oregon coastline and went up into Canada. It was the most wonderful way to see the most beautiful parts of the world. My father was adamant that we take good care of our campground. If you pack it in, you must pack it out. You always leave your campground better than you found it. When I was about 10, we bought a piece of lake property. It was our camp for the next couple of years until we were able to build. I loved waking up in the beautiful morning silence, seeing the placid lake, and hearing the birds as they began to sing. That's my Zen place, and I often go to it when I need to have some spiritual time by myself. In the winter, we went snow skiing, and since my dad was on the ski patrol, we were there Saturday and Sunday from first ones on the mountain to last ones down at night. I got my first set of skis when I was 5 years old. At about age 12, I had a friend, this is junior high school, asked me why our family didn't go to church. I didn't know how to answer her, but it certainly got me to thinking. Anyway, that next weekend, I had an opportunity to talk with my dad. He was a quiet, introspective man, and it was hard to engage him in conversation. But we were riding up the chairlift together, so I had my moment. I asked him, I said, "How come our family doesn't go to church?" He thought about it for a little bit, and then he said, "Well, you can go to church if you want to, but for me, if I were God, I wouldn't be in church. I'd be right out here on this mountain today. This is where God is for me. This is my church." It was awesome. I loved what he said, and it gave me something to say if anybody were ever going to ask me again. That day started me on a quest for my own religious beliefs. I did a lot of reading, and a form of eco-theology began to emerge. I found that many of the beliefs of the American Indian appealed to me. The spirit of their ancestors dwelled in the earth, the water, the rocks, the trees, and they feel a great moral responsibility to preserve, defend, and protect their sacred land. I wish more of our political leaders today felt a need to preserve and protect our land. At about age 16, I found the Unitarian Church. It was a comfortable place for my new budding theology. I was able to think outside the box and still be looking for my personal truths. The seventh principle is especially meaningful to me: respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. I truly have been an environmentalist my entire life. There have been many courageous groups and individuals who have made a lasting impression on me. One of those is Greenpeace. It was formed in 1970, so they're going on 48 years. One of the first actions that I remember was that there was a group of them that went to Alaska to stage a sit-in because the government was doing nuclear testing up there, and they wanted to put a stop to it. They were able to do that. They had to actually take the government to court over it. Another thing that they did that I remember, because I was growing up in the Pacific Northwest, there was a group of Greenpeacers who came to Washington State and chained themselves to great big 300-year-old trees that a logging company was about to cut down. So they chained themselves to these trees, and they slept in hammocks up in the trees and prevented the logging company from going to work. They negotiated with the owner of the logging company, and one of the things that was really interesting is they interviewed the manager of the logging company, and he said, "Those damn tree huggers, they're in my way." That's how that phrase got coined and how it got started. From then on, they were tree huggers. That year also, Rachel Carson wrote Silent Spring, and Aaron Brockovich uncovered the dumping of toxic waste by the Pacific Gas and Electric Company. There are many, many more heroes that came forward to talk about the things that man was doing that was evil, really, for the earth. Today, we face the gravest of environmental issues ever. As climate change and global warming become a more threatening issue, we need to take action. It really only takes one person, and one person multiplied by thousands really make a difference. One such young hero today is the young Greta Thunberg of Sweden. At 16 years old, she sat outside her parliament building every Friday. She skipped school, holding a sign that says, "We need action on climate change." She got media attention, and pretty soon she became an actual phenomenon. That last March 15th, it was estimated that about 1.8 million people walked out in support of her to insist that their governments help support legislation on climate change. I know that humans are capable of rising above the worst urges to dominate and exploit, but instead to cherish and protect. And for me, I want nothing more, for the sake of my grandchildren, to leave my campground better than I found it. Thank you.
Invite you to rise and bow to your spirit. This is 1073. The earth is our mother. The earth is our mother. We must take care of her. The earth is our mother. We must take care of her. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young. Her sacred ground we walk upon. With every step we take, her sacred ground we walk upon. With every step we take. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young. The earth is our mother. She will take care of us. The earth is our mother. She will take care of us. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young. The sky is our father. We will take care of him. The sky is our father. We will take care of him. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young. The sea is our sister. We will take care of her. The sea is our sister. We will take care of her. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young. The forest is our brother. We will take care of him. The forest is our brother. We will take care of him. Hey, younga, ho, younga, hey, young, young.
Good morning. And happy Earth Day. I know it's not technically Earth Day, but we can call it Earth Day because... Yeah, all right. I thought you'd know that. Great, thanks. So, how is our Mother Earth doing on her special day? Well, if you look outside, she's doing great. It's beautiful here, but collectively, not so good. Probably could be a lot better. And collectively, as humans, we have not treated our Mother Earth with much respect in the last few centuries, but it's time and past time to start treating our planet with respect. In honor of Earth Day, I would like to read a quote attributed to Native American holy man, Black Elk. Has anyone heard of Black Elk? A few, good. Black Elk lived over a century ago and was a second cousin to the war chief Crazy Horse. He was a warrior in his younger days and became a spiritual and tribal leader after his people were driven off their lands. Among other quotes, Black Elk said, "Peace comes within the souls of people when they realize their relationship and their oneness with the universe and all its powers, and when they realize at the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit, and that its center is really everywhere. It is within each of us." The point is, we are all connected. We are connected to Mother Earth, who sustains us, and to each other. What happens to one affects us all. If Mother Earth is not doing very well, each of us is not doing very well either. But if anyone can heal and give love to the planet, we can. Unitarian Universalists have a strong history of spiritual activism. We are spiritual warriors. We use our spirits to actively fight hatred, inequality, greed, corruption, and just plain meanness. We don't just pray, we act. Service is our prayer. If we see an issue, we address it. And there are so many issues these days, it can be overwhelming. Here at VUU, we have individuals and groups working hard to heal the planet, and all of us can take action to make a difference, whether it is small steps, regular steps, or giant steps. The small steps are the individual steps. As an individual, we can recycle, we can stop using single-use plastics, including drinking straws, we can eat a little less meat, and we can drive less. And don't let anyone tell you these small actions do not make a difference. When many people are doing them together, they add up quickly and make a tremendous difference. Medium steps are the things we do as a congregation and as a community. We can watch the energy use at our churches and schools, we can shut doors and windows when the heat and air conditioning are on, and we can help out in community gardens, support local farmers markets, resurrect the VUU Green Sanctuary right here, and especially educate our community. All of these make a difference. Then giant steps are actions we can take at the national or global level. That everything that we do depends on a livable planet with clean air, clean water, and healthy food. And all of these are suffering right now. And climate change probably is the biggest issue of our time as it affects all of these issues together. Some giant steps really are needed to help fight this one. Fortunately, we can make a difference here as well. Here at VUU, we have our own local chapter of the Citizens Climate Lobby, and Sandy Whitley will be up here in just a few minutes to tell you more about that. And as far as actions we can all take, most people that walked in here today, or at least some people, received a Climate Action Pledge card. And if you didn't, we have plenty more at the table out back if they did not get blown away by the wind. I just saw a little windstorm blow through, so hopefully they're still there. But what the pledge cards are, they are, it's similar to your monetary pledge to the congregation, but we're asking you instead to pledge a little bit of your time each month to help heal the planet. And we ask you to please take a good hard look at your time to see how much of you have available to help heal our Mother Earth. Can you give 1 hour per week, maybe 2 hours per month, 4 hours, 8 hours, even 5 minutes a month will help. We will give you a list of ideas every month of actions that you can take, and we would like to see everyone that is able to fill out one of these cards and drop it off with an usher at our table outside on the patio. And there's more coming down the aisle now. Great timing. When we're not asking you to stop working on other important social issues, please make sure you still have time for those as well. It's just that the planet and some of its less powerful inhabitants could really use a little bit of your time right now, And climate change is connected to all of these other social issues as well. This should not be a sacrifice. We think that you'll find that it is actually fun to see how you can reduce your energy use and your carbon footprint. And, oh yeah, by the way, if you don't know what your carbon footprint is, we have a tool for that as well. There's an online tool where you can calculate your own carbon footprint and track it. In closing, the VUU Climate Action Team is here to make sure that you never have to ask the question, what can I do? Never feel hopeless, like this guy. Can you see that? Yes. We want to make sure that you always have an answer for that, for what can I do? Always have an answer for that question. And when you hear anyone else ask the question, what can I do? You can answer their question as well. So please, before you leave today, we have a poster outside. If everybody could sign that poster and give your support, we'd appreciate that. And the pledge cards, we'd appreciate that as well. And we ask that you don't get depressed, get busy. Each one of us can make a difference, whether it's small steps, medium steps, or large steps. They are all important. Thank you.
I want to invite us into a time of prayer. I think the impulse to see the earth as a resource and to misuse it to benefit ourselves might be connected to the same impulse some people seem to have to control other people, to impose our will on them. And so I think this morning of Lori Gilbert Kay, who was killed in the violence in the synagogue near San Diego this past weekend. One more victim of violence in an American house of worship. So this morning, as we begin a time of prayer together, I invite us to hold Lori in our hearts, all those who were affected in the shooting this weekend, and all those who have suffered from gun violence in our country. Let's hold Lori and all those affected in our hearts. This prayer is written by Nancy Wood. My brother, the star, my mother, the earth, my father, the sun, my sister, the moon. To my life, give beauty. To my body, give strength. To my work, give goodness. To my house, give peace. To my spirit, give truth. To my elders, to our elected officials, give wisdom. We must pray for strength. We must pray to come together. Pray to the weeping earth. Pray to the trembling waters and to the wandering rain. We must pray to the whispering moon, to the tiptoeing stars, and to the hollering sun. May we be aware that we are but a part of the interdependent web of all existence. Amen.
To my old brown earth and to my old blue sky, I now give these last few molecules of I. And you who sing, and you who stand nearby, I do charge you not to cry. Guard well our human chain, watch well you keep it strong, as long as sun will shine, and this our home, keep pure and sweet and green, for now I'm yours, and you are also mine.
Good afternoon. My name is Sandy Whitley, and I'm happy to be a part of Earth Day services here today. 30 years ago, James Hansen, a NASA scientist, started beating the drums for action to reduce carbon emissions. 15 years ago, Al Gore joined in, and An Inconvenient Truth came out in 2006. I joined Citizens Climate Lobby 5 years ago because they were working on an actual solution to the climate issue, a policy to price carbon. Every principle of Unitarian Universalism strikes a chord with me, but none more than the seventh, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Some of my most treasured memories are of time spent in nature with my family. I want that natural world I love preserved for my grandsons and all future generations to create their own memories. It's easy to feel overwhelmed and hopeless when we hear about some of the things happening in our world, like the next thing the administration is doing to reverse good climate policy, or the most recent extreme weather event in the U.S. or Zimbabwe, fire, floods, hurricanes. It is true the climate has always changed, but now there are 7 million people who could be affected by those changes. The last time climate change of this magnitude occurred, no humans lived on Earth. We are all affected. We all breathe the air that is polluted by the burning of fossil fuels. We pay taxes needed to clean up after climate-related weather disasters. We have bad air days when ozone levels are high from fossil fuel pollutants combining with heat. Yep, we do have heat here in Arizona. We don't have hurricanes or floods or tornadoes, but we do experience the effects of extreme heat, drought, and the potential for severe wildfires. But it's not all gloom and doom. The worst does not have to happen. There are things that we can do right now to make sure of that. We can do things on a personal or community level, as Jeff was talking about, or we can take it big with climate work affecting national policy, and that is what I'm talking about here today. There was little on the news about climate change until a couple years ago when we had a spate of hurricanes and wildfires that were hard to ignore. And the Green New Deal has elevated the climate conversation, though it is more of a vision or concept still to be developed. It will take a while to get it off the ground. In the meantime, climate is a big problem and we need big solutions. Citizens Climate Lobby has one solution, a carbon pricing bill that has been introduced in Congress called the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. We are prepared to speak with you here today to tell you what this bill is and does and ask for your support. Please stop by the tables outside if you haven't already to learn more and complete a letter for your member of Congress. That is a big action that you can actually take today on climate change. If this bill is enacted, it will reduce carbon pollution by 40% in 12 years and by 90% by 2050. Those are significant numbers, and when taken into account with other measures to reduce global warming, I'm confident that we're on the right track to keep ours a livable world. A really big thing has already happened here at VUU. The Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act has been endorsed by Reverend Andy and by the VUU Board of Directors. And recently, the bill received a national endorsement from the Unitarian Universalist Association. That is huge, and we are so Another big thing you can do is join our work with Citizens Climate Lobby. We need volunteers who are willing to learn and educate others about climate change, to become advocates for keeping our world healthy. Citizens Climate Lobby is exactly what it says it is. We are citizen lobbyists, volunteers, unpaid, grassroots, and our organization is a trusted entity. We have a steady and calm way of dealing with Congress that has a proven track record. This is the first bipartisan climate bill introduced in Congress in 10 years. Your completed constituent comment letters will be hand-delivered to all 3 of your members of Congress. These letters are so important because your voice creates the political will and cover for your congressperson to do something on climate. If they know climate action is what their constituents want and what their constituents expect, it is easier for them to act among their peers on the issue. Because we all want a world that is livable for our grandchildren, our children, and increasingly for ourselves as the effects of global warming creep ever closer. Come help us preserve our earthly home through the collective action of our beloved community. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, light of life that lives in us, help us to turn away from wrong. Reveal the hate that lives in us, help us to live no more in fear. Save us, save our children. Oh, light of love, rain down on us, help us to heal our wounded world. Our dying forests, scattered lands, smoldering cities, wasted fields. Save us, save our children. Oh, love of light that lives in me, help me to lift my head and see that we feel joy as well as pain. See beauty in the rain. Save us, save our children. Oh, light of life that dawned in us, help us to harmonize our ways. Each other listen, touch, and love, that we may stand in strength and peace. Save us, save our children.
Please be seated. The great philosopher, poet, monk, spent a lot of time in Kentucky, Thomas Merton, wrote, "What a thing it is to sit absolutely alone in the forest at night, cherished by this wonderful, unintelligible, perfectly innocent speech, the most comforting speech in the world, the talk that rain makes by itself all over the ridges, and the talk of the watercourses everywhere in the hollows. Nobody started it. Nobody's going to stop it. It will talk as long as it wants, this rain. As long as it talks, I'm going to listen." It was a Memorial Day tradition in the family that I grew up in to drive an hour to West Boggs Park in Lagodi, Indiana, to Amish country, and camp over the holiday weekend. We would fish and grill and tell long stories that everybody had already heard and bad jokes. It was family at its best and worst. With Heather working and the kids otherwise engaged one Memorial Day several years ago, I decided I would ride my motorcycle down to visit with family. The trip there was uneventful, but my late afternoon ride home was a different story. About 30 minutes in, dark clouds began to form. Then wind came strong enough that I could lean into it and stay upright. Then rain. A few sprinkles at first, as fat as Indiana bumblebees. They were big. Then an absolute deluge. I was squinting to see, and the cool air that the storm brought in, combined with the water, had me gasping for breath. I fought it for a while, but it became clear that I needed to pull over. Truly, as Thomas Merton said, nobody started it, nobody's going to stop it. This rain will talk as long as it wants. So pull over I did. I sat on the side of the highway and leaned against my bike and waited out the storm. I was absolutely soaked. But there's something about being outside in a rainstorm like that one that serves to remind a person what a wonder our shared earth really is. We owe our lives in large part to the fact that water falls from the sky on this planet. It is nothing short of a miracle that we're here to see a show like that one. I hear a lot of people talk about saving the earth more and more, I think, and that's a good thing. We're waking up to the fallout of the Industrial Revolution and hyper-capitalism. But what is sometimes missing is what I think might be most important. To save the earth, we need to fall in love, to really take the time to hear the skittering of a lizard through dried leaves, to watch a rabbit make its way across the grass, to take in a desert thunderstorm rolling in, and remember that all of it, including us, all of it comprises one gigantic miracle. As our time together this morning comes to an end, we're going to sing together once more. I invite us to begin now, to create practices in our lives outside this place, to fall in love over and over and over again with our shared earth.